Hi, I'm Dr. Courtney, Jesus Professor, and in this episode of Debunking 101, we're answering the question, is evolution a fact? Evolution is too large a body of knowledge to cover the entire range of assertions with a single designation of theory, law, fact, hypothesis, whatever. A perusal of most college-level biology textbooks makes it clear that there are many assertions in this body of knowledge that are still referred to as hypotheses. In empirical inquiry, most things that are referred to as fact are direct observations. Ideas that can be inferred from direct observations and generalizations based on observations are more commonly referred to as models. These models might be called hypotheses, theories, or laws, depending on the weight of the totality of supporting evidence. However, the designation as fact is usually reserved for individual aspects of observational or experimental evidence without adding much in terms of generalization or inference. Each assertion in the body of knowledge called evolution should be classified individually. Some are facts, some are hypotheses, some are theories, some are laws. And we can classify each assertion and discuss it without painting with an overly broad brush, which can tend to ascribe an unwanted level of certainty to ideas that are still hypothetical. For example, the explicit speciation mechanism, allopatric, parapatric, or sympatric, in many cases of speciation, is still at the hypothesis stage as evidence is gathered. The relative importance of different mechanisms, chromosomal, mutation, and plasmid, that drive genetic change is still hypothetical in many specific cases. The future importance of natural versus artificial selection is a topic of debate as humans have improved our abilities both at artificial selection and direct genetic manipulation. Gain-of-function research, anyone? We might argue how much intelligent design occurred in past biological changes, but it seems clear to all scientists that there is and will continue to be some level of intelligent design in future biological change. And skeptics think that there's some level of not so intelligent design when the humans are mucking about with change of function research. Textbook definition that is often offered for evolution is a genetic change in a population over time, or perhaps a change in the allele frequencies in a population over time. Certainly, this definition has been observed with sufficient directness and regularity to label this as a scientific law. Allele frequencies change over time. One might reasonably argue that this assertion is related closely enough to direct observations to call it a fact. However, it's intellectually dishonest to use this definition of evolution as a change in allele frequencies over time to establish evolution as a fact and then apply this as proof of evolution as a theory of human origins or as proof of universal common descent. Furthermore, most scientists would probably consider the conditions for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium to be somewhat between the theory and law stage of scientific development. However, Most scientists would shy away from describing the conditions for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium as a fact because there is sufficient inference involved in the idea that it can probably never be tied closely enough to direct observations to be considered a fact. The word evolution includes a very large body of scientific and historical observations and inferences, such that labeling it as a fact without being very specific about the assertion involved is painting with an overly broad brush. It makes no more sense to call evolution a fact than it makes to consider cosmology a fact or quantum mechanics a fact. Most areas of science have facts, laws, theories, and hypotheses, and one must be specific about the assertion to enable classification. Facts do not rest upon unproven presuppositions, such as the presupposition that the laws of nature are constant in time and location. When one uses evolution to mean an explanation of the origin of species, rather than the science textbook definition of a change in allele frequencies over time, one is making a historical assertion, answering the question, what happened, rather than a scientific assertion, answering the question, what are the natural laws? Furthermore, as a theory of origins, evolution rests upon the presupposition that the laws of nature are constant, both in the implicit demand of science for repeatable experiments, as well as in the explicit doctrine of uniformitarianism. From a scientific point of view, facts are direct observations with minimal interpretation and no dependence on unproven presuppositions in the chain of logic that connects the observations to more general inferences and conclusions that are based on the observations. Once presuppositions are introduced in your reasoning based on observations, you've no longer got a fact. You've got a theory, a hypothesis, a model, or a law, which is no more certain than the combination of observations, logic, and presuppositions upon which it rests. In this case, evolution as a theory of origins is a historical theory, depending on the presupposition that the laws of nature are constant. They didn't prove that miracles don't happen. They assumed that no miracle ever happened, and that presupposition leads to a naturalistic theory of origins, in this case, the theory of evolution. The presupposition of constant natural law has been used to extrapolate modern observations millions and billions of years backwards in time.